The Galactic Council chamber floated high above the core world of Erythra Prime, its silver domes glittering in the light of 3 suns. Inside, hundreds of alien delegates filled the massive hall. Their voices rose and fell in a mixture of languages, clicks, and ultrasonic tones. On the central podium, Council Speaker Theros, a tall insectoid being with shimmering blue wings, struck the ceremonial crystal 3 times. The sound echoed like deep bells calling for silence. "The first order of discussion," Theros announced, his voice translated into hundreds of tongues, "is the aggression of the Nigma Empire toward humanity. The floor is open for statements." The chamber rippled with unease. Many delegates exchanged looks. The topic of humanity always brought tension. From the second row, Ambassador Laketh of the Uthari stood, her scaled body catching the light. "Honorable Speaker, I remind this council of the last time an empire tried to intimidate humanity. It was the Viral Dominion. They launched a fleet of 60 warships. Within 3 standard months, they had none left." A deep rumble passed through the hall as some remembered the incident. Ambassador Xylor, a crystalline life form from the star cluster Orin Beta, spoke next. "Yes, I was there, serving as a diplomatic observer. The humans were underestimated. Their ships were smaller, slower, less advanced. But their tactics were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. They fought like they had nothing to lose." Another voice, deep, guttural, came from the far section. "Humans are dangerous because they are unpredictable," growled Ambassador Torgath of the Krovan League. "They take insult personally. They do not forget. And they do not forgive until the threat is gone." A murmur of agreement passed through many of the council representatives, but not all. A new sound rang from the chamber's back, metallic footsteps. The Nigma Empire's Grand Minister, Varric Dren, stepped forward, his armor gleaming black and gold. His reptilian eyes swept the room. "Your warnings," Varric said with an arrogant smirk, "are stories to frighten hatchlings. We are not the Viral Dominion. We are the Nigma Empire. Our fleets span 400 systems. Our armies have crushed civilizations far older than humanity. You will regret this," Ambassador Laketh warned, her voice low. Varric laughed. "Regret? We will claim their resource worlds before the next rotation cycle. Their kind survives. On fragile planets, dependent on trade, one squeeze on their lifelines, and they will beg for mercy." He turned and walked away, his armored boots striking the marble floor with loud finality. On the edge of human space far from the shining halls of the Galactic Council, the UHS Resolute patrolled the outer frontier of human-controlled space. The heavy cruiser's sleek, dark hull cut through the void silently. Captain Amina Voss stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back. She was a tall woman in her 40s, her dark hair tied neatly, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic. "Display of nearby systems. Status?" she asked. "Routine so far, Captain," said Lieutenant Harper from the comm station. Although he hesitated, Voss raised an eyebrow. "Although?" Harper tapped his console, and a series of symbols appeared in the air. Jagged, spiked. Letters in deep red. "We picked up fragments of encrypted transmissions, Nigma code, short-range bursts. My guess? Recon probes in the Vega sector." Voss stepped closer, frowning. "That's deep in neutral space. They shouldn't be there." "Shouldn't," Harper agreed. "But they are." Voss turned to her tactical officer. "Send this data to Fleet Command. Tag it as urgent. And keep monitoring all channels. If the Nigma are sniffing around, I want to know before they even think about crossing into our territory." "Yes, Captain." As she walked toward her ready room, Voss felt a tightness in her chest. She had read the classified reports, the ones most citizens never saw. The Nigma Empire wasn't just another expansionist power. They were ruthless, relentless, and hungry for dominance, and they were arrogant enough to believe humanity could be intimidated. The first ripples 2 weeks. Later, the first incident occurred. The mining station Orion's Hammer in the Vega 9 belt sent a distress call. 3 unknown ships were approaching at high speed. The signal cut out before more details could be sent. By the time a human patrol vessel arrived, the station was gone. Not destroyed, gone. Tugged from its orbit, stripped of valuable machinery, its workers missing. Only fragments of hull plating floated in the debris field. The official report from Fleet Command was cautious, but whispers spread quickly among spacers and traders, Nigma raiders. In the council chambers, Ambassador Laketh repeated her warnings. This is how it starts. First, small attacks to test defenses, then larger strikes to cripple the economy. If they are not stopped now, they will push further. Varric Dren smirked across the chamber. Let them push. Let them strike. We will see how fragile your humans really are. Earth's quiet preparations. In a secure meeting room beneath the Pacific Fleet headquarters on Earth, Admiral Reyes listened as Captain Voss presented her findings. The room was dimly lit. Its walls, lined with star charts and tactical hollows. They're probing us, Voss concluded. Small, stealthy incursions. Testing our response times, mapping our patrol routes. This isn't random. Reyes leaned back, his face hard. And the Council? Talking, Voss said with a touch of bitterness. Talking while the Nigma move pieces into place. Reyes nodded slowly. Then we prepare quietly. No panic, no public announcements. I'll have the outer colonies increase militia readiness. He pointed at Voss. You keep your eyes open. If the Nigma make a move, I want the Resolute to be the first to answer. Yes, sir. A warning. Ignored back, in the Galactic Council, the debate reached its peak. Elder civilizations urged caution, citing historical records of humanity's resilience. The Nigma delegation dismissed every word. Finally, Speaker Theros gave his closing remark. The Council has no authority to prevent a member from acting beyond its borders. However, I urge restraint. Provoking humanity has never ended well. The chamber fell silent for a long moment. Then Varric Dren's voice rang out like a challenge. Your restraint is weakness. The Nigma Empire will proceed, and when this is over, humanity will serve as a reminder to all. The strong rule, the weak obey. Many delegates turned away, already knowing what would come next. On the horizon, out on the frontier, Captain Voss stood on the Resolute's observation deck, staring at the distant stars. Somewhere out there, in the black between suns, Nigma ships were moving. She knew what history said. She knew what humanity was capable of when threatened. The stars over Vega 9 shimmered like cold diamonds, but inside the asteroid belt, shadows hid danger. 3 Nigma raider ships drifted silently, their black hulls blending into space. Captain Zorvac of the Nigma Imperial Fleet stood on his bridge, watching the holographic map. His slit-pupil eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Human response time, 20 minutes, his tactical officer reported. We can be gone in 10. Zorvac grinned. Then take the supplies, disable their satellites, and burn their storage depots. The Emperor wants them starving before they know they are at war. The raiders moved in like hunting beasts. In minutes, the mining colony's Stone Reach was in chaos. Automated defenses tried to power up, but Nigma jammers blinded them. Explosions rippled across the facility. Cargo pods filled with refined metals were pulled into the raider bays. When the Resolute arrived 15 minutes later, there was nothing left but drifting debris and a few damaged escape pods. The first fight captain, Amina Voss, stood on the bridge, her jaw tight as the rescue crews worked. Survivors? She asked. 23, Captain, out of 300, Harper reported. Grimly, Voss's voice was calm but cold. Track them. Where did the raiders go? Lieutenant Chen worked at the sensor console. I have a vector. They're heading for the dark side of Vega 9's third moon. Voss didn't hesitate. Helm, intercept course, weapons hot, minutes. Later, the Resolute came out of FTL behind the moon. The Nigma ships were there, unloading stolen cargo into a larger transport. They didn't expect company. Target the transport's engines, Voss ordered. The Resolute's railguns thundered, silent in space but deadly in effect. Slugs tore through the transport's drive section. Fires erupted. The Nigma raiders reacted, fast, swinging around to engage. Energy bolts flashed past the Resolute's shields. Return fire! The human cruiser danced between the raiders, using asteroid cover and tight turns that larger Nigma ships couldn't match. 2 raiders were crippled, the third fleeing into the void. Do we pursue? Chen asked. Voss shook her head. No. We send a message. Let them tell their commanders we're not prey. Shock in the Nigma High Command on the Nigma capital world. The Imperial War Council gathered in a towering chamber of black stone. Varric Dren stood beside the Emperor himself, an enormous figure draped in gold-trimmed battle robes. 3 ships lost? The Emperor roared. To 1 human vessel? They used unconventional tactics, Majesty, an admiral explained nervously. The humans fight without predictable patterns. Varric sneered. So, we have more ships, twice their numbers, 10 times their firepower. We will crush them. The Emperor leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. No more testing. Prepare the fleets. Humanity will see our strength in full. The Council watches. News of the raids spread through the Galactic Council like wildfire. Delegates whispered in corridors, some alarmed, others grimly amused. Ambassador Leketh confronted Varric during a recess. You lost ships already. That was only 1 cruiser. How many more will you lose when their fleets respond? Varric smirked. We will lose none. The humans will break when their core worlds are threatened. You still do not understand them, Leketh said quietly. When you threaten what they love, they don't break. They fight harder. Earth responds. In the underground war room of Pacific Fleet headquarters, Admiral Reyes stood before a wall of star maps. Red markers showed Nigma raids along the frontier. This is no longer random, Reyes said to the assembled commanders. They are pushing, testing, and now committing larger forces. We will not wait for them to hit Earth. He looked at Captain Voss. You're being reassigned to a special task group, fast cruisers, stealth frigates, and auxiliary support. You'll hunt them. Voss nodded. Understood. Your mission, Reyes continued, is to disrupt their supply chain, destroy their forward bases, and force them to commit more resources here instead of striking deep. The more they chase you, the less they can hit our colonies. Operation Ember Net. The plan went into motion within days. The Resolute and 3 other human warships slipped quietly into Nigma-patrolled space. They targeted unguarded fuel depots, isolated listening posts, and lone cargo haulers. In each attack, they struck fast and disappeared before Nigma reinforcements arrived. It was classic human warfare, not brute force, but precision, speed, and unpredictability. 1 night cycle. In deep space, the Resolute hid in the shadow of a comet, its engines cold. A Nigma supply convoy passed within 50 kilometers, never suspecting the danger. Engage, Voss ordered. Railgun rounds and missile swarms hit the convoy's lead and rear ships at the same time, trapping the others in between. Within 4 minutes, the entire convoy was disabled. They didn't destroy all the ships. They left some intact, knowing survivors would report back to the Nigma High Command. Fear was part of the strategy. The Nigma reaction in the Nigma war chambers, frustration boiled. Convoy after convoy was lost. Supply stations went dark. Fuel shortages began to affect frontline fleets. Captain Zorvac, once confident, now stood before the Emperor with his head bowed. The humans. They do not fight the way we expect. They avoid direct confrontation unless they hold the advantage. They are cowards, Varric interrupted. Zorvac hesitated. With respect, Minister, if they are cowards, then these cowards are dismantling our logistics with surgical precision. The Emperor slammed his fist on the table. Enough! We will draw them into a trap. Spread false intelligence about a vulnerable supply hub. When they attack, our fleets will be waiting. The trap the bait was set. A lightly defended fuel depot in the Rethar system. The Nigma planted false chatter, letting it slip into human monitoring channels. On the Resolute, Harper intercepted the message. Captain, this could be big. A major depot with minimal protection. Voss studied the data. It looked too perfect. It's a trap, she said flatly. Chen frowned. Then we avoid it? No, Voss said slowly. We spring it on our terms. Counter-trap instead of sending her entire task group, Voss took only the Resolute and one stealth frigate. The rest of her ships hid near a gas giant 2 light minutes away. When the Resolute jumped into the Rethar system, the lightly defended depot lit up with power and 20 Nigma warships decloaked. Contact! Multiple hostiles! Harper called. Voss kept her voice calm. Transmit our position to the rest of the task group. Then evasive maneuvers. The Resolute darted between asteroids, dodging heavy fire. Just as the Nigma fleet closed in, the hidden human warships dropped out of FTL behind them. Missiles, railguns, and plasma fire tore into the Nigma formation from 2 sides. Within minutes, half their ships were crippled, the rest scattering in confusion. Message to the Empire. After the battle, Voss ordered a single Nigma ship left intact. She transmitted a message directly to its captain. Tell your leaders this. We know your tricks, we see your moves, and we will meet you wherever you come. You will not find us afraid. You will only find us ready. The Nigma ship fled, its captain shaken. The Council reacts back on Erythra Prime. The Council chamber buzzed with the latest reports. The humans had not only survived Nigma attacks, they had turned them back, winning battles with smaller fleets. Ambassador Laketh spoke softly to those nearby. It begins. The Nigma have awakened something they cannot control. Even Speaker Theros, usually neutral, could not hide a hint of concern. I hope they understand before it is too late. But in the Nigma capital, the Emperor's orders were already given. The next step was total war. The war had been running for weeks now. The Nigma Empire believed they were pushing humanity toward collapse. In truth, they were being dragged into a fight they did not fully understand. The Battle of Vega 9. The Vega 9 system had been quiet since the early raids. That changed when long-range sensors picked up a massive Nigma fleet heading straight for it. 30 warships, led by a colossal flagship. Captain Amina Voss, aboard the Resolute, studied the incoming data in the Fleet Command Center. The holographic map showed red enemy markers swarming toward the blue markers of the Human Defense Force. How many ships do we have? She asked. 11, replied Lieutenant Chen. Mostly cruisers and frigates, outgunned nearly 3-1. Voss didn't flinch. We hold the line. The battle began in the asteroid field near Vega 9's third moon. Human ships used the dense rocks for cover, weaving between them and launching surprise attacks. Nigma firepower was overwhelming, but their larger ships struggled to maneuver. The Resolute darted close to the Nigma flagship, rail guns hammering its shields. Direct hit on their forward batteries, Harper shouted. The Nigma flagship retaliated with a plasma beam that scorched the Resolute's port side, throwing crew members off their feet. Voss grabbed a handrail. Target their bridge section. All weapons, fire! A full salvo of missiles and railgun rounds smashed into the Nigma flagship. Explosions rippled across its hull. Finally, a secondary blast ripped through its midsection. The ship broke apart, debris scattering into the asteroid field. The sight of their flagship exploding shook the Nigma fleet. Several ships broke formation, giving the human forces a chance to counterattack, capturing the enemy's secrets. When the battle ended, the humans had destroyed or driven off most of the Nigma fleet. But one prize was beyond value. The crippled Nigma flagship's command module had survived mostly intact. Fleet engineers boarded it under heavy guard, pulling data cores from the control rooms. Hours later, in the war room aboard the Resolute, Voss and Admiral Reyes examined the decrypted files. It was worse than they imagined. "The Nigma plan isn't just to harass our borders," Reyes said grimly. "This is the first wave of a full-scale invasion. Their next target?" He tapped the map. "Is Earth itself." Voss's eyes narrowed. "They want to break us in one strike. They think if they take Earth, the colonies will surrender." Voss shook her head. "They still don't understand us." The Emperor's boast. The following day, every inhabited world in the galaxy received the same transmission. The Nigma Emperor, standing tall in gold battle armor, his voice full of arrogance. "To all peoples of the stars, watch as the age of humanity ends. Their fleets are scattered, their worlds weak. In 1 month's time, Earth will kneel before the Nigma Empire. Let this serve as a warning. Those who defy us share their fate." The message ended with the Nigma war banner, a black sun over crimson skies. Humanity rises. On Earth, the Emperor's threat had the opposite effect he intended. Far from being afraid, humans became more determined than ever. At Luna City's Central Square, crowds gathered as President Callahan spoke. "They think they can take our home. They think we will surrender. We will prove them wrong. Today we call on every colony, every shipyard, every citizen who can serve. Join the defense of humanity." From Mars to the outer asteroid colonies, the response was immediate. Freighters were refitted with armor plating and missile pods. Old warships were pulled from reserve docks and repaired. Civilian crews volunteered for dangerous runs to supply the fleet. In just 2 weeks, the largest volunteer force in human history assembled. Hundreds of ships, from massive carriers to small gunboats. Operation Blindside Admiral Reyes called. The senior fleet commanders together aboard the Resolute. The holographic map glowed above the table. "We can't just wait for them to come to Earth," Reyes said. "If we do, they'll hit us with their full force. We need to make them fight on our terms." Voss stepped forward. "We strike deep into their territory, hit their supply lines, shipyards, and command centers. If we force them to defend their own systems, they won't have the strength to attack ours." Some commanders hesitated. "That's risky," one said. "We'll be far from our own support." "It's riskier to wait," Voss replied. "Humans win by changing the fight. We don't play by their rules." The plan was approved. They called it Operation Blindside, into enemy territory. The first strikes were surgical. Human stealth frigates jumped into Nigma industrial sectors, destroying fuel refineries and communications relays. Voss led a daring raid on the Nigma shipyard at Vorthus Prime. The Resolute and 3 other ships slipped past defenses during a meteor shower, launching precision missile strikes at the massive orbital dry docks. In minutes, half-finished battleships were reduced to flaming wrecks drifting in space. When Nigma reinforcements arrived, the humans were already gone. Fear spreads in the Empire. Reports of human raids flooded into the Nigma capital. Entire fleets vanished into the void, ambushed in asteroid belts or drawn into gravity wells. In one case, a human gunboat squadron lured 6 Nigma destroyers into a binary star system's unstable magnetic field, frying their sensors and leaving them helpless for pickoff attacks. For the first time, whispers of doubt spread among Nigma citizens. The humans were no longer seen as weak prey. They were predators in their own right. The Emperor's rage. In the great throne chamber of the Nigma capital, the Emperor's patience cracked. How can they be everywhere at once? He roared at his admirals. They are not everywhere, one admiral admitted. They are just unpredictable. They strike where we are weak. By the time we respond, they vanish. Varric Dren stepped forward. Then we must force them to fight us in one place. Draw their main fleet into a decisive battle. And if they don't come? The Emperor asked. They will, Varric said coldly. We will threaten something they cannot ignore. Back on the Resolute, Captain Voss stood in the dimly lit observation lounge, looking out at the stars. She knew the Nigma were planning something big. Harper entered quietly. Message from Fleet Intelligence. They've detected unusual movements near the Tarvos sector. Multiple Nigma fleets converging. Tarvos? Voss frowned. That's nowhere near our main colonies. Chen joined them. Maybe they're trying to mislead us. Voss's eyes narrowed. Or maybe they're baiting us. She turned toward the window again, her voice steady. Whatever they're planning, we'll be ready. They've been the hunters until now. It's time to show them what happens when they become the prey. The Nigma Empire had taken blow after blow, but they still refused to admit defeat. In the dark throne chamber of the Imperial Palace, the Emperor stood before a massive star map, his golden armor reflecting the light. His reptilian eyes burned with rage. They humiliate us, he growled. They destroy our shipyards, cripple our fleets, and still they fight like insects that refuse to die. Varric Dren stepped forward. Majesty, it is time to use the Leviathan. The Emperor's expression turned into a cruel smile. Yes, let the galaxy see our true power, the superweapon. The Leviathan was more than a warship. It was a mobile siege platform the size of a small moon, equipped with a planet cracker cannon, a weapon that could split a planet's crust and boil its oceans in hours. It had been built in secret deep within Nigma space. Now its engines roared to life and entire fleets gathered to escort it. Its first target was not Earth, but a warning shot. Operation GhostNet Admiral Reyes received the intelligence in the war room aboard the Resolute. The Leviathan is heading for Kestrel Prime, Reyes said, pointing at the map. Population, 20,000. Agricultural world. It's not strategically important, which makes it perfect for them to make an example. Captain Voss leaned forward. We can't fight that thing head-on, not yet. But maybe we can lure it into a trap. She explained the plan. Operation GhostNet. Step 1. Spread false signals across space, pretending to be human fleets moving toward a distant sector. Step 2. Hide the real strike group near a dense asteroid field, waiting for the Leviathan to pass. Step 3. Attack its engines and power systems, forcing it to retreat. Reyes approved. We don't need to destroy it now, just hurt it badly enough to make them think twice. The ambush, the trap, was set. Dozens of human drones broadcast fake fleet positions, drawing the Leviathan off its original course. Hidden among massive asteroids, the Resolute and 10 other ships waited in total silence. Target locked, Chen whispered. Fire, Voss ordered. A swarm of missiles, railgun slugs, and plasma torpedoes streaked toward the Leviathan's rear engines. Explosions lit the void. Direct hits! Their aft shields are down, Harper reported, but the Leviathan's armor was monstrous. The superweapons escort fleet moved in fast, forcing the humans into a desperate dogfight. A narrow escape. The Leviathan shuddered as its secondary reactors failed, but its planet cracker cannon remained intact. Suddenly, its massive barrel began to glow. "They're firing!" Chen shouted. "Incoming!" The beam ripped through the asteroid field, vaporizing everything in its path. The Resolute barely escaped, its shields flaring under the heat. 2 human ships were lost instantly. Voss clenched her fists. "We can't finish it! Pull back!" The Dahmer. Warning, the Leviathan, damaged but operational, turned toward an uninhabited human colony, Nova Terra Beta. Within hours, the planet's crust was torn apart, magma spilling into the sky. The destruction was broadcast across the galaxy. The Emperor's voice followed. "This is the fate of those who resist the Nigma Empire. Earth is next." Humanity's response on Earth, the reaction was immediate and furious. Crowds filled city streets. Recruitment centers overflowed. Engineers worked around the clock to upgrade warships with heavier weapons. Admiral Reyes addressed the fleet commanders. "They want us to be afraid. Instead, we go on the offensive. No more raids. We strike at the heart of their empire." Voss added, "We target their industrial core. We make it impossible for them to build more ships, more weapons. We take the fight to their doorstep." The offensive begins. The human fleet launched 3 major assaults in a single week. Battle of Clyra Station, human marines boarded the Nigma's largest fuel processing plant, setting explosive charges and destroying it in one massive fireball. Strike on Gorath Belt. Long-range artillery ships bombarded Nigma munitions factories from behind asteroid cover. Infiltration at Varus Prime. Stealth frigates planted viral code into the Nigma's central supply database, scrambling fleet orders and causing chaos. The Council watches in awe on Erythra Prime. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with disbelief. Humanity is winning? One delegate whispered. "They're not just winning," Ambassador Leketh said quietly. "They're turning the war against the Nigma, and they're doing it faster than anyone thought possible." Speaker Theros addressed the assembly. "Let this be a lesson. Those who provoke humanity must be prepared to face consequences beyond imagination." Nigma desperation in the Imperial Palace, the Emperor's voice thundered through the war chamber. "They are burning our core worlds, Varric." Dren spoke urgently. "Majesty, we must recall the Leviathan to defend our territory. If we lose our industrial worlds, the war is lost." The Emperor's claws tightened around the armrest of his throne. "No, Earth falls first. When their home burns, the rest will collapse." The path to the final battle intelligence from captured Nigma officers revealed the truth. The Leviathan was being repaired and would lead a massive fleet toward Earth. Within weeks, Admiral Reyes summoned the senior commanders. "This is it, the final push. We meet them before they reach Earth. We end this war." Captain Voss looked around the table. "We've been fighting in their territory, on their terms. Now we choose the battlefield." Her voice was steady, but her eyes burned with determination. "When they come, they will find every human ship waiting for them, and they will learn what happens when you threaten our home." The blackness of space near Sol was quiet, almost peaceful. But every human ship in the fleet knew that peace would not last. The Leviathan was coming. Admiral Reyes stood on the command deck of the Resolute. His uniform was spotless, but his face showed the weight of months of war. "All ships report status," he said calmly. From across the comm channels came the replies. "Railguns charged. Missiles loaded. Shield arrays at maximum." Every captain knew the stakes. If they failed today, Earth would burn. The enemy appears sensors lit up like fireworks. "Multiple warp signatures," Harper called. "It's them. Over 100. Nigma ships. And the Leviathan at the center." The massive silhouette of the superweapon emerged from warp. Its black hull absorbed light, and its planet cracker cannon glowed faintly like the eye of a predator. In the Nigma flagship, Emperor, Thraxus watched the human defense fleet on his screens. "Crush them," he ordered. "Leave no survivors." The first clash, the void erupted with light. Nigma cruisers surged forward, their plasma lances slicing through space. Human destroyers weaved between shots, answering with railgun volleys that punched holes in enemy armor. "Captain," Voss shouted over the roar of battle, "target their flanking ships. Keep the pressure off our carriers." Missiles streaked from human ships, breaking into smaller warheads mid-flight, overwhelming Nigma point defense systems. Explosions tore through the first wave of the enemy fleet, but the Leviathan kept advancing. The cannon fires. The giant weapon began charging. The glow in its barrel turned from orange to white-hot. "Brace for impact!" Chen yelled. A beam of pure energy ripped across the void, striking the human battleship Courage. Its shields flared, then failed, and the ship was torn apart in a silent, terrible burst of fire. Voss's jaw tightened. "We can't let that thing fire again. Reyes, we need a strike team inside." Operation Spearpoint, the plan had been prepared for weeks. While the main fleet held the line, a group of stealth frigates would sneak close to the Leviathan, punching a hole in its armor so Marines could board it and sabotage its main gun. The Valiant, a small but fast frigate, led the group. Its pilot, Lieutenant Ward, threaded the ship through debris and enemy fire like a needle through cloth. They slipped under the Leviathan's massive belly and unleashed concentrated railgun fire at a weak point near the engine vents. The armor cracked, venting plasma into space. "Breach achieved!" Ward shouted. "Marines, go!" Inside the beast, Captain Voss herself led the boarding team. Clad in heavy combat armor, she floated through the torn section of hull into the dark corridors of the Leviathan. Nigma soldiers swarmed to defend the ship. Pulse rifles flashed. Voss's Marines moved with ruthless precision, cutting down the defenders one by one. The air was thick with smoke and sparks when they reached the reactor control chamber. "Plant the charges," Voss ordered. "Set them for my mark." Outside, the breaking point. The human fleet was starting to falter. The Nigma had numbers and firepower, and every minute the Leviathan stayed in the fight was costing human lives. Reyes's voice was grim over comms. "All ships, hold the line. Give Voss the time she needs." Human cruisers formed a defensive wall, trading devastating fire with enemy destroyers. Fighters darted through the chaos, dropping bombs on Nigma frigates. The Resolute took a direct hit, its shields collapsing. Sparks rained from the ceiling. "Damage control," Reyes barked. "We are not going down today." The sacrifice. Inside the Leviathan, Voss and her team were pinned down by heavy enemy fire. They had planted the explosives, but a Nigma officer had triggered lockdown protocols, sealing blast doors and trapping them near the reactor core. "Captain," Sergeant Hale said, looking at her, "we can't get out before detonation, but if we stay, the ship dies with us." Voss didn't hesitate. "Then we finish the job," she keyed her comm. "Admiral Reyes, charges are set. Tell Earth we fought to the end." Reyes's voice cracked for just a second. "Understood. You have our thanks, and our promise." The end of the Leviathan. The charges detonated. A chain reaction tore through the Leviathan's core. The massive ship split apart in a blinding explosion, sending debris hurtling through the battle. The shockwave crippled several nearby Nigma ships. For a moment, the entire enemy fleet hesitated. Reyes seized the chance. "All ships! Full! Assault! Push them back!" The human fleet surged forward like a wave. Railguns, missiles, and plasma blasts ripped through the stunned Nigma lines. The fall of the Emperor on. The Nigma flagship, Emperor Thraxis, watched in disbelief as his fleet crumbled. His voice shook with rage. "They destroyed it. They destroyed the Leviathan." Varric Dren, his most loyal commander, looked at the screens and then at his Emperor. "Majesty, we must retreat. If we stay, we lose everything." But Thraxis refused. "I will not run from humans." Moments later, the human dreadnought Indomitable locked weapons on the flagship and fired. The Emperor's ship exploded, taking him with it. Silence in the void, the surviving Nigma ships scattered, warping out of the Sol system in panic. On the Resolute, cheers erupted. The war, the long, bloody war, was over. Admiral Reyes stood quietly for a moment, then spoke into the fleet-wide comm. "This victory was paid for in blood, Remember the names of those who gave everything, and remember why we fight. Humanity stands free. The aftermath weeks later, the Galactic Council convened. Every member world sent representatives, and every one of them looked at the human delegation with a mixture of respect and fear. Speaker Theros addressed the assembly. The Enigma Empire thought they could break Earth. Instead, they are gone. Let this stand as a warning. Humanity is not to be provoked. Ambassador Laketh added softly to the others. The humans do not start wars, but when they fight, they finish them. The last message on Earth. A monument was built in the heart of New York City. Carved into black stone were the names of every fallen soldier. At the top, in bold letters, were the words, "They were told, don't provoke humanity. The Enigma Empire refused to listen." And for the rest of galactic history, no one made that mistake again.